Well, the brackets have changed about 3 or 4 times in the last 2 days, so we're trying to keep up with that. But, we'll just go kind of do the same things we've been doing. These guys been wrestling well and, kind of training this week like we did the week before the regionals there. We felt pretty good going into the regional, and guys felt healthy and felt refreshed, Took a couple days off last week right after the regional and then hit it pretty good for 3 days. And then we're just kind of tapering down these last Monday and Tuesday. So hopefully the guys feel good and ready to go. And, if they change the bracket 3 or 4 more times, we'll be ready, whatever happens.
Hopefully these ones are final.
Yeah, I think they will be final the way they stated it. I'm kind of just throwing that out there. But I think your weight's changed 3 times, Fred. So anyway, we're just whoever comes out. So it'll be what it is.
Questions?
Hey, Seth, you kind of took the long way around to get here. What kind of goes through mentally?
Well, at regionals, I actually lost to a kid I teched and pinned earlier in the season. So when I lost that first match, I'm like, well, it's going to be a long day, but I ended up just taking it match by match, not thinking about it like that, and ended up making it. So I had to beat a kid I actually lost to, though, 2 times during the season in my second match, so I knew that would be tough, but it was a kid I shouldn't have lost to at all, so ended up getting the win.
Yeah, Coach said, earlier in the year, you come out so strong, kind of zaps you for the third period. You obviously could not do that in the tournament.
Yeah.
You kind of had to, is it just more of a grind it out?
Yeah, last year I really learned, what he meant by the peaks and valleys of the season, and I feel like right now I'm peaking, I feel good, so just wrestling smarter and not, little things in matches to not gas out, wrestling smarter, so that helps.
So obviously it sets up well for this week, so
Yeah.
you understand kind of what it is. But none of the guys have been there before, and but they've been pretty level-headed, so you just kind of treat it like, hey, it's just another tournament.
Well, and no doubt about that. The thing about it is, though, these guys have wrestled a lot of guys that are in this tournament. All year long they've wrestled guys that are, All-Americans, national champs, whatever. So the competition is not going to be really any different for them. As far as being at the national tournament, yes, it'll be a first for them, but the competition is going to be right what we've competed against, the UNC Pembrokes, the Indianapolises, Fort Hays are there. We've wrestled all those guys. Coker's got some guys there that we wrestled out in South Carolina. So these guys know, the competition is going to be about the same. It's a different environment for sure, but Seth, kind of add to what he said there. He's learned how to manage matches a little better, and he wanted to go out and just finish it in the first period. And I think part of that was his confidence of going into the third period. Now his confidence is there where he can wrestle in the third period, so he doesn't feel like he needs to finish it in the first. And I think that's helped him overall in just the confidence area.
Is that just a mental thing? Is it conditioning? Is it just learning college wrestling different than high school 2 years ago?
Yeah, it's I think a big part of it is learning, because that extra minute in the first period, it did make a big difference when I came here, gassing out. So, and I had the mindset too of what Coach said, going in there and finishing matches quick. So now I learned to slow it down and good technique and maintain my energy if I needed it in the third period. So.
Say, Fred, you've kind of taken the long road to get to Grand Junction.
Yeah.
What goes to, they call you in and say, guys, we're dropping wrestling. And you've got, 30 guys in the room trying to think, now what do I do? Kind of what goes through the process that got you to this point?
We'd be here till the sun came back up if we went through every step. Just this year alone has been trials. But a lot of it is just one step at a time. If I would have been able to predict everything that came about of that situation, every trial that came, I would have been crushed in the moment. And I definitely was, because I was taking on the pressures of everything beyond that circumstance. But whenever you break things down, okay, what's next? All right, I need to look for new universities. Okay, new universities, who needs a guy in my spot? And you break it down into one step rather than taking on the entire load of every trial ahead of you. It made a crushing circumstance turn into rather something positive. I mean, we're here going into nationals, being one of the best teams that we've had in a while. As an individual and as the teams I've been on, this is tremendous. I wouldn't want it any other way, really.
Coach, how would you define this team after the teams you've had in the past, but the growth that this team has gone through, the young guys that are making strides this year? How would you describe it from your perspective?
Well, lots of bits and pieces for sure. Having the team that wrestled as a lot of freshmen last year, the Nolans and the Seths and who else was on the Van Hoos and those guys, a bunch of freshmen that we wrestled last year. And then you bring guys in like Fred to add, to some pieces in there, and you bring in Colin Metzger, bring him in, and he adds to the 125-pound weight. And, it's a team that sometimes you bring in some outside guys, and it can mess up your mojo a little bit, but these guys have just fit right in there with this team, and it's just made us super strong. And, just even in practice yesterday, I mean, it was just a good environment. Guys are working hard. They're still having fun. It's the end of the year, but we're still having fun. We know that end goal. And you can really not so much even attest to these guys, these 5 guys that are going, but the other 15 to 18 guys that are in there that are bought in to getting these guys ready to go, and that's their job right now. We've talked to them about it, but there's not much talk after that. I mean, they stay in focus for these guys. I think it's, when you look, we started putting pieces together and we thought, boy, from 57s to 97s, we're going to be pretty dang tough this year, and, taking nothing away from, the heavyweights and the guys that are lighter, but we just felt like the nucleus of those guys from 57s to 97s were going to be pretty solid. And in the end, that's kind of where we wind up. The guys that qualify, are 5 in a row there from 57s to 97s. So just, a lot of good character. I mean, you look at these guys that qualified for the national tournament, look at their GPA overall. It works hand in hand. I would say they're probably over a 3.3, 3.5 GPA of all these guys. So, it shows their character there as well.
How much is it the amount of time that these guys have put in? You talked about, wrestling them as freshmen and learning from the upper class and kind of waiting their turn to get that opportunity to really kind of show out. How much is that to see the character of these wrestlers come through and get to this moment now and go to the national tournament?
Well, and like, Seth brought up early, it's taking everything in stride. You're going to have some lows in the year, some highs and lows, peaks and valleys. And it's hard to stay at the top of your game the whole season long. It just is. Some guys have. Some guys have in the past, but you're going to have those matches that okay, I got to reset, I got to refocus and all that. You're going to have those weeks. You may have a month of it, And the nice thing about wrestling is everything's practiced till February, till the regional, which is late February. So that's how we look at it. And then, bringing in Coach Mendoza and we change some things up as far as what we're eating before we wrestle and things like that. Some of the little things that we're doing, I think, has really changed where we're at to where it put these guys in the position that they're at to be All-Americans and national champs and all that. So we feel like, and I've always had that philosophy, you've got to do a lot of little things right to make the big things happen. I've just always felt that way. Coach Mendoza's brought some more of that philosophy in. And so the things that we're trying to do and just the little things that just make these guys feel, taking the time off. I mean, in the fall, we took some days off on some different days that I've never done, and just gave them a day off, a Wednesday or, a consistent Wednesday. And so they can just be outside. And I think makes them feel when the season rolls around, the end of the year, they're not so beat up mentally and physically and all that. So we feel like that's what's really important right now, the time that we gave them off, even after Christmas, a Friday here or a Wednesday here and in the fall as well, just some Wednesdays or whatever days it was, just give them a little time off.
So Fred, being reunited with Coach Mendoza kind of help your wrestling a little bit?
Yeah, I would say so. Our relationship has definitely developed since the first time meeting him. Initially, whenever he first got the job at Boise State, there was a previous coaching staff there before I showed up. And I was really rooting for a Boise State alumni to take the position. And then the announcement came out, Mike Mendoza's the guy. I actually put a request to leave because I didn't feel that he was going to put me at the level that I wanted to. And attest to his character, he called me that same day and said, hey, I need you to buy in. I need you to be a part of our team. If you don't like my coaching style, you don't like who I am or whatever, X, Y, and Z, then I'll be happy to help you transfer elsewhere. And that was right off the gate just a testament to who he is as a person. And so then I withdrew my request to leave and stayed with Boise State, wrestled under him, and it was a very coach-wrestler relationship. And then as wrestling dropped from the program from Boise State, that relationship continued to grow personally outside of the wrestling room because he was no longer my coach. He was now a mentor, a life mentor. And it just makes it so much easier whenever he calls me out of the blue when I'm in Hawaii on a spring break trip saying, hey, how would you like to look to get a master's degree? Which initially I kind of laughed at, but it makes it so much easier to commit whenever someone with that close a relationship is the one helping you along the way, encouraging you. So I would say coming here was almost a no-brainer once I got back home to the States or to the mainland. But, yeah, it's definitely a developed relationship, and it's played a big role.
You kind of take what you've seen at the Division I level and obviously put it to good use here, but you just kind of feel like you can kind of carry this momentum that you're on right now into nationals?
Yeah, of course. A lot of it, whether D1, D2, I think a lot of it just personal maturity, finding out who I am and developing that character off the mat has contributed quite a bit to who I am on the mat. It's added a layer of consistency to my wrestling style. And, yeah, I think whether I do the same moves now as I did back my freshman year of college, my execution and my lifestyle is completely attested to where I am right now, ranked seated third going into nationals. I think I'm going to win it, obviously, with the confidence that I have in my abilities and who I've wrestled this year. Yeah, I think it's a mindset that's locked in pretty well.
I know, the wall in the room is kind of everything for this program. And so many guys, I want to get on that wall. Seth, you just try to not look at the wall this week and just...
Yeah, I try not to, really overthink it, which is going to be a lot different than it has been all season, obviously, with a big tournament like this. But I'm just going to go in with the mindset of just wrestling and wrestle my matches how I want and not overthink it and then wrestle bad. So take it match by match and just
Round
wrestle.
by round.
Yeah.
They can't really help it when I'm over there pounding on that wall. A couple times this week been where the national championship is, pounding on the wall, and they look around like, "What's that noise?" So I'm reminding them, that's our end goal right there.
You're looking for the studs so you can hang new ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Coach, speaking of the wall and in the room with the women, but then in the hallway, just with all the other sports, we're kind of working on feature here, the teams going to nationals. But you've been around the department a ways now with wrestling and youth sport, but is there some extra buzz just kind of going up and down the room, up and down the hallway?
You mean with the women's program and all that?
Just sports in general.
Yeah. The sports in general. Yeah. I mean, both teams winning the RMAC last week, and then our swimming teams doing what they did here, a couple weeks ago, winning the RMAC and going to nationals and that. And there's no doubt a buzz. And the women doing as good of a job as they did, placing top 4, in their second year, 7 All-Americans. I mean, and, Coach Mercado and his team just did an awesome job. And they're still relatively young, I mean, freshman and sophomore. I think. I don't know if there's a junior or senior on that team, but so there's a big future there for those girls, and then other girls that he's bringing in as well. But I think the buzz is there. I mean, I know amongst our team what we're doing. When we look at earlier in the year when we were picked 6th, and you look at the kind of the preseason rankings and that, and I don't think we had anybody qualifying for nationals. I don't know if we were in the top 3 of any of the even of the regional rankings, and then to turn around and have the most, and I'm talking out of the RMAC teams, and then to turn around and have the most guys qualify for the national tournament for us is a buzz as far as our room goes right now, and feeling good about that. And it just kind of shows, we lost to Western and Mines, and we just weren't quite as strong as a dual team as those two teams were, but we had some, 5 good individuals that can, and taking nothing away from some of those other guys, the Van Hooses and some of those guys that, wrestled hard for us this year, Dylan Keeney and Colin and even some of the other guys were spot starters, Hayden Harris's and all that, Those guys get an awesome job, and they're still locked in right now trying to help us out. Did I answer your question, Chris?
Yep.
Okay. Roundabout way?
Question of the week. Yep. Since I got it. Best piece of advice you've ever been given, either as an athlete or a human being.
Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last.
Dang, I don't know. Yeah.
How do you follow that?
Yeah, what's yours? Yeah.
On a completely different page. Mine's take nothing serious.
I don't know if I have. I don't know. If you ever hung around me, you'd know I have quite a few sayings out there, and I don't know if any of them have from my college coach that's still at New Mexico Highlands, and my dad that was a coal miner for 33 years. There's a lot of pieces of advice out there for those guys, and I don't even know if I could particularly throw one out there, so I don't know if I can help you on that this week.